Welcome to Gussie. Harry is going to spend an evening quietly up in his room, where he thinks it's all going to be fine. It wasn't. This is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, poorly explained. Starting off, Harry is back with his animal-looking relatives, but this time he gets a bedroom that he gets to share with his roommate, Hedwig. Then we find out that he's still a poor boy and nobody loves him as he gets no letters from anyone. The walrus must still be afraid of letters or owls or something because he doesn't want Harry to have letters or let Hedwig fly. After finding out that the Dursleys are having guests over, Harry has to stay in his room and not be loud or weird. Harry then goes to his room to find something that is very loud and very weird. After trying to get Dobby to stop being very loud and very weird, he gets all emotional and makes more noise, which makes Uncle Walrus mad, and finally we find out that Dobby doesn't want Harry to go back to Hogwarts because of something bad that he won't say will happen. Dobby also has all of Harry's letters but won't give them to him, so Harry chases him down the stairs to the dinner party where cake happens, and Dobby disappears. As a punishment for being weird, loud and cake, Harry's room becomes a makeshift jail cell. But don't worry about it, because Fred, George and Ron show up to break him out in a flying car. Also, it's Harry's birthday. Moving forward, we're now at the Weasleys' homes where all the magic is happening. Mrs. Weasley is upset about the car thing, but not at Harry. Ginny is weird and we meet Mr. Weasley, who asks about ducks, and establish that the Weasleys are poor. Now we're in Nocturne Alley because Harry can't say Diagon Alley, so naturally that's where we end up. Hagrid shows up, so don't worry about it. Now we're in Diagon Alley where we run into Hermione, who still knows how to fix Harry's glasses. We also meet back up with the Weasleys, who are worried about us, but not worried enough to come find us or anything. Next we meet Gilderoy Lockhart, who gives us books. Malfoy does Malfoy things, Big Malfoy does Big Malfoy things, and now we're at a train station, where walls work. Or don't work. So instead of doing the logical thing and wait, we do the flying in the car thing instead. Car things happen. We arrive at Hogwarts where a tree fights us and breaks Ron's wand. But don't worry about it, because we're all fine, including Ron's rat. Moving forward, Snape still hates Harry and attempts to get him expelled, but Catwoman and your granddad are like, yeah nah, detention. Screaming plants, Hermione's still smart, Colin Creevy's in Gryffindor. Then Ron gets a letter from his mum, except it's not a regular letter, it's a red one. Anyway, the letter screams at him a bit about the car thing and congratulates Ginny on being sorted into Gryffindor. Next is Defense Against the Dark Arts, where we are introduced to our new professor, the bookstore guy, Gilderoy Lockhart, where pixies happen and Hermione's still smart, but in a way that makes you think, why isn't it Hermione Granger and whatever the danger Harry Potter is in? Now it's Quidditch practice, but not because Slytherin has a new seeker, Malfoy, who did Malfoy things like buying his way onto the team. After a little conversation, Malfoy says a swear, and Ron does a spell that backfires, and now he's spewing up slugs. And instead of taking him to the hospital wing, we take him to Hagrid, because logic. Now we're serving detention with Lockhart, where we hear voices, so we follow them. We run into Hermione and Ron for some reason, then keep running after the voices. We find some blood writing and a dead cat, but don't worry about the cat because it's not actually dead. Everybody shows up conveniently together, all at the same time, in the same spot to see Harry being suspect. After a bit of questioning, we get to go. After a brief conversation with Hermione and Ron, it's decided that yeah, hearing voices is weird. During Transfiguration, we find out the backstory of the Chamber of Secrets and that Slytherin, one of the founders, was a blood racist, and that no one has ever found the Chamber of Secrets, or the monster that supposedly lives in it. After class, we decide that Malfoy is sus, because he's in Slytherin, and a blood racist. So Hermione comes up with a plan of impersonating Crabbe and Goyle with a potion. Now Quidditch, where a bludger goes all weird, but it's fine because it leads Harry to spot the snitch. After a little race with Malfoy, Malfoy crashes, and Harry breaks his arm, then crashes, but don't worry about it because he caught the snitch. But maybe do worry about it because the bludger is still weird. But then don't, because Hermione does the thing that any one of the adults watching could have done and stops it. But then again, the next adult that shows up fixes Harry's broken bones by vanishing them. At night, in the hospital wing, regrowing his bones, Harry starts to hear the voices again. Oh look, it's Dobby. Turns out Dobby has been trying to stop Harry from staying at Hogwarts, but still won't tell us why. But he does a Hagrid and tells us too much information, and tells us that the Chamber of Secrets had been opened before. Then we find out that Colin Creevy got petrified, and that Dumbledore thinks that Hogwarts is not safe anymore. In the girls' bathroom, we find out that this one is abandoned, because of Moaning Myrtle, who's sensitive, which makes it the perfect spot for secret potion brewing. Now it's Dueling Club, where Lockhart shows everyone how great he is. Then it's Harry's turn against Malfoy, who does Malfoy things. Next thing you know, Harry's speaking to a snake in front of everyone. We later find out that, like hearing voices, speaking to snakes is also weird. Now the school thinks Harry's weird. Now after all this, you would think that Harry would keep his head down and not follow the voices. Yeah, nah, he immediately follows the voices. Not only does he find a ghost petrified, but another student. And you would have thought that Harry would do the obvious thing and turn around and get help or something. Nope, he crouches down and touches this unconscious, unmoving body without consent and then acts surprised when he gets caught. Also, sus spiders. Now we're in Dumbledore's office where we watch Fawkes die, but don't worry about it because he's a phoenix. They just come back to life and then bang, Hagrid rushes in to tell Dumbledore that we're innocent and he's like, yeah, and then Hagrid be like, never mind then. Now it's Christmas. In the Great Hall, Hermione tells us that the potion is ready, so we go sort out Crabbe and Goyle, where it's Leviosa, not Leviosa. We take the potion and now Ron and Harry are Crabbe and Goyle, but Hermione won't come out. Meeting up with Malfoy, we find out that he knows nothing about the year, but that someone got expelled the last time the chamber was opened. And someone died. Going back to Hermione, we find out that she's now part cat. Moving on, Myrtle's bathroom is now flooding, so naturally we head towards it. In there we find a book soaked in toilet water, so naturally Harry needs to pick it up and keep it. So Harry starts writing in this book, and instead of finding it suspect that it writes back, he's like, yeah, no, this is normal, and keeps writing. The book sucks us in and shows us the past, where we find out that Hagrid was the student expelled. Also, Big Spider. We speak to Hermione and Ron about it and decide not to speak to Hagrid about it. Hi Hagrid. Then Neville runs out and takes us back to Gryffindor Tower, where Harry has been robbed of the toilet book. Now it's Quidditch, but it's not because Hermione got petrified and now the school might close down. So we go to Hagrid, but before anything can be said, Dumbledore and the Minister of Magic show up, and Hagrid gets arrested. Then Malfoy, the old one, does Malfoy things and Dumbledore is removed as headmaster. But before leaving, Dumbledore says something cryptic about getting help, and Hagrid says very loud and clear to go look at the spiders. So we follow the spiders into the creepy Forbidden Forest after dark, which is the only time we ever go into them. We follow them back to the nest where we meet Aragog. We find out that it was never Hagrid or Aragog responsible for anything about the Chamber of Secrets or the monster. But during this conversation we get surrounded by Aragog's children, who are hungry, and we're their meal. But don't worry about it because the car shows up and saves us. We go visit Hermione to find out that she was consulting the Big Book of Answers the day that she got petrified, because conveniently in her hand was a page with all the answers. The monster is a basilisk and is getting around in the pipe, and Moaning Myrtle is the girl that died 50 years ago. But oh no, Ginny's been taken to the Chamber of Secrets, and it's up to Lockhart to save her. We go to Lockhart and he's trying to run away. Turns out he's a fraud. Who would have thought? We head to Myrtle's bathroom to ask about her death, and she basically pointed to the sinks and said, there it is. After Harry opens it, we chuck Lockhart down and we follow. At the bottom, we discover the basilisk is huge based on its shed. Lockhart tries to pull a fast one, but it backfires on him, and the ceiling caves in. Ron, with a memoryless Lockhart stuck on one side, and we're stuck on the other one to move on to try and find Ginny. Oh look, there she is. She's in a puddle. We also find Tom there, who tells us that he was responsible for everything and was possessing Ginny. But swoosh, it's a red herring. Oh my goodness, who would have thought Tom Riddle is Lord Voldemort? Harry loses his wand to Tom, but don't worry about it because Fawkes comes through with a hat. So Tom sets the basilisk loose, but don't worry about it because Fawkes is back again and blinds it. After a little chase around, we go back to Ginny and grab the sword that was in the hat. Tom's still monologuing, so we fast forward a bit, and Harry kills the basilisk, but not before getting a tooth stuck in his arm. Tom continues his monologue, but we just stab the book with the tooth that was stuck in our arm. And now Tom's gone, and Ginny's instantly fine. But Harry's still hurt, but don't worry about it, because Fawkes cries a bit. Then Harry's instantly fine. After, in Dumbledore's office, he gives us an award, and tells Harry he's fine. We go back to the Great Hall and meet Hermione again. And we're like, you did all of the heavy lifting, like all of it, while you were unconscious. Ron was just kind of there the whole time. Dumbledore stands up and says, good job, people, and no exams this year, because let's be real, none of them learned anything anyway. That's it. Until next time, you can head over to our Instagram page and check out what we're doing over there. We're doing some cool things, like stickers. And if you're not into that, then head over to our YouTube channel, where you can watch some other videos. Like the one about Carl from Up. being a superhero, or the first one of these. It's Harry Potter. Yay.